Welcome to the Fall River Conservation Meeting, being held at One Government Center, Fall River, Mass, in the public hearing room. 9/11/23, time is 5:30. Pursuant to the open meeting laws, any person may make an audio or video recording of the public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and deemed acknowledged and permissible. We'll start with roll call.
Chris Boyle, here.
Louis Ferrera.
John Brandt.
Jim Cusick.
Paul Amaral.
Nikita Viera.
And we're missing Reverend Jim Hornsby. We also have Nina Pavo from the clerk, Dan Aguirre, conservation agent, and Gary Letts is from Fall River TV. First on old business is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-765, owner applicant Highland Farms Development Number 2 LLC. Project location is 245 Fieldstone Lane. Assessors map is U-04-0059. Applicant requesting certificate of compliance stating that all work regulated by the order of conditions has been satisfactorily completed. This was tabled from July 10th, 2023.
So just as a update, this is for 24-765, which was for the single-family home construction. This is one of the projects where they were putting in a pool and some other work in the backyard, which they filed a new notice of intent for under 24-819. So the work for 765 will not be completed until the pool is completed under 819. So you should remove this from the agenda until they submit a certificate of compliance for 819 and 765.
Okay.
Okay. So can I have a motion to table this till they're ready?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
And we also had Mr. Reverend Hornsby is here, so we'll mark him as attended. Next is notice of intent SE-24-817. Owner applicant is Mellow Estates LLC. Project location 1262 Brighton Ave. Assessors map is J-24-002. Filed by Zenith Consulting Engineer LLC on behalf of the applicant. The applicant proposes the removal of existing rock outcrop to establish a contractor's yard storage facilities. Also storage is proposed within a previous disturbed riverfront area and buffer zone, as well as cleaning of existing drainage swales in Brighton Ave, subject to MassDOT approval. This was tabled from July 10th, 2023.
Is Jamie coming?
Yeah, he asked if you guys could, he's
Yep.
stopping traffic.
So the engineer said he would be coming, and Joe said he will be coming as well. So you just want to table that till later on in the evening,
Okay.
until he comes up.
Can I have a motion to table this till later in the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Vote approval?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to the next one is a request for certificate of compliance SE-24-788. Owner applicant Highland Farms Development 2 LLC. Project is 164 Fieldstone Lane. Assessors map is U-04-0069. Filed by Silver Environmental Consultant Inc. on behalf of applicant. The applicant is requesting a certificate of compliance with exception of final lawn development on this lot. The work authorized under the order has been completed in substantial compliance with the order conditions. This was tabled from July 10th, 2023 meeting.
So similar to item 01, the applicant had additional work, a patio, a shed, some fencing, that they had applied for an RDA that was approved back in June, I believe, or maybe even July. So the final certificate of compliance for 24-788 can't be issued until that work under the RDA is complete. So this is another one that you can remove from the agenda
Okay.
until all the work is completed.
Motion to table?
So moved.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
All right. Next is a notice of intent SE-24-825. Owner applicant is Antonio Almeida. Project location is 38 Judge Street. Assessors map is filed by the applicant. Applicant is proposing construction of addition to a single-family house, tabled from July 10th.
I don't know if anyone's here for it.
Is anybody here for that one? They seem to,
You haven't got any other correspondence, I don't? No? But he said he was sending somebody, right? Okay. If you wanna table it, give somebody some time, that's fine. Till later on in the evening.
Well, let's table it till later in the meeting. and
can I have a motion to
Nice.
table it to later?
Motion so made?
Second. Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Alrighty. Next, notice of intent SE-24-827, owner applicants 52 Ferry LLC, project location 52 Ferry Street. Assessors map is N-14-0005, filed by the applicant. The applicant proposes construction of new 96 slip marina, full yard for vessels ranging from 24 to 60 feet, with transit dockage, public fishing pier, and walkway. This was tabled from July 10th.
So the applicant has provided revised plans that adequately responded to all of the comments that I had, as well as DEP. DEP has issued a file number. So without any other question or comments from the board, I would recommend the issuance of an order of conditions.
Okay, there's no one here from there.
No, I don't see
Okay.
anyone.
So
But by all means, if you have other questions, then you should table it until,
does the board have any other questions?
They were very thorough in their presentation,
Yeah.
so,
yeah.
Okay, so can I have a motion to issue an order of conditions?
so moved.
Second.
Discussion. What does that mean,
What does what mean?
order of conditions?
That's the permit that we grant. So we're granting them a permit that's called an order of conditions.
Okay, so there are no.
There are no special conditions, but there are general conditions that they need to comply with.
Okay, got it, that's what I thought.
Yep.
but Thank you.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Okay. Next is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-695. Owner applicant is Nantucket Sound Seafood. Project location is 1375 Airport Road. Assessors map is Z-03-0108. Filed by Civil Environmental Consultant, Inc. on behalf of the applicant. The applicant has requested certificate of compliance with the exception of final lawn development and final top layer of asphalt on this site. The work authorized under this order has been completed and substantial completion with the order of conditions, tabled from July 10th.
So over the last 2 months, we've worked with the applicant and their contractor to respond to all of the itemized requests that we had on our punch lists, including final lawn development and final top layer of asphalt. All the work has been completed. They redid the replication area, they made some modification to some ponds. This is about as good as you're gonna get on a site. So I recommend the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
Motion to
Board.
approve COC?
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, roll call?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Alrighty. Next is notice of intent SE-24-826. Owner applicant is Brian Bentley, Greater Fall River Vocational School. Project location is 251 Stonehaven Road. Assessors map is L-19-20-0001. Filed by Niche Engineering on behalf of the applicant. The project includes demolition of existing school building, associated site fixtures, construction of new school building, and associated site work. Site work will include the construction of new parking lot, driveway, athletic field, pedestrian walkways, utility service, and new stormwater management. This was tabled from July 10th meeting.
So, we have had the plans in for a notice of intent dating back to that last meeting when some presentation was given. We've reviewed them. I gave a few initial comments to the applicant, which I don't see have been addressed yet. So the board has a couple of different ways that they can go. This has also just gone out through site plan review. We just received this initial site plan review comments that I should have in writing over the next couple of days. And actually, Paul Furland is here from the Department of Community Utilities, who provided an enumerated review as well. Nothing crazy outstanding, so if the commission chose to, they could grant the order with the special condition that DCU and site plan review gets completed. But I would feel more comfortable to making sure that all of the plan revisions that satisfy DCU's comments are included on the plan set that you vote for. Specifically where I had asked for a few items to be addressed that I don't see addressed on the plan set. So,
Dan,
you
is
can have a
there,
discussion, you can ask for additional presentation.
sure. Is there a timeline on that, so we don't wanna hold up?
So I would expect, and Paul, you know, we can discuss with Paul, I would expect that we'd have comments, written comments within a week.
Okay.
So there's really no reason why site plan review and this order of conditions couldn't be issued by our next meeting.
Okay.
Again, I
And
know
does
we're
that
trying to
sub-
get some work started here, but
Does that substantively impact the beginning of work?
I would think it would to some extent.
Yeah, bidding's happening, so that could have an impact. Do you mind clarifying which comments haven't been addressed?
So I had asked for, there was a drain line along Locust Street that was collecting runoff from the site, new drain line, discharging into the right-of-way of
Mhm.
Locust Street with a general note that just says grade to downstream. There was no grading shown,
Okay.
so you were adding drainage into the right-of-way owned by the city
Mhm.
with no specific grading being shown.
Understood.
I also had a concern regarding the existing drain line that runs out to the culvert under Route 24. So there were a number of manholes that I spoke with Josh,
Mhm.
that survey was unable to
That's
open
correct.
or find that information of what was actually there. So he said he was going to have that looked at and respond, so that because you were relying on this line
Yeah.
to tie into. And without having that information, both the Department of Community Utilities and myself can't sign off on a drainage design without that crucial information.
Right, because I know when Josh went out into the field, he was able to visually confirm the drain, but it is not shown on the survey, that's correct. So
Okay.
what information do you need to feel comfortable with it? Do you need,
We need all of the
do you
information
need like
because,
surveyed information?
yes, it needs to be on the plan. So the plans need to be complete. If you're relying on those pipes, inverts and pipe sizes for your drainage analysis, then
Mhm.
we need to make sure that the pipes that you're utilizing and counting on are in decent shape and at the right elevation that you need them to be.
Okay, and you feel like you want those comments addressed before we can close Conservation Commission? We can't make that contingent as part of the site plan review?
Well, I just said that the
up
commission
to them.
can do that, so
Okay.
I'm giving them two options.
Okay.
However, work cannot begin until site plan review is completed. So there really is, you will not be the commission or the board that is holding construction. It'll be the process of site plan review. And that all is, so we give our comments. I gave these comments out quite a while ago and I didn't receive any additional information. So when we send out our formal comments for site plan review, again, now, my comments were for Conservation Commission, which the part of the project before you, like we talked about, is very limited. However, it's really the most important part, because all of the drainage comes into the area of your concern. So, once we give out our formal comments, it would be up for the applicant to respond quickly, for us to be able to review their responses, so that we can give a site plan review permit as well as issue an order of conditions. So I would not be opposed to you making the condition of site plan review approval, and we'll just deal with it in-house. Let's say that they can get the response back to us in a day, and we don't have to wait till next month's meeting, then that's fine, but only you can make that determination.
So now no work would start till site
No
plan?
no work can start. We've allowed them to do some enabling work on site already, upgrading some driveway work and some of that. But as far as the remainder of it, no, they can't do any, substantial work specifically within your jurisdiction until an order of conditions or site plan review is completed.
Board have any questions?
No, I don't have a question, but I do have a quick comment. The applicant is one of my stakeholders as part of my normal job, so I just want to disclose that to the committee before I vote on anything, okay?
Yeah, you can just.
You can abstain from it.
Perfect.
That's what I do
Okay.
when I get.
And I just have one quick question, it's for Paul, actually. Paul, I don't mean to catch you off guard here, but, so with with the work that's been done on Crestbrook dropping into the interceptor drain, my only question is, does it have the capacity to handle the additional runoff from, because presently no runoff takes place from Diamond to the interceptor drain, is that correct?
Is the interceptor drain the drain that goes below the highway?
It's east of the highway, and it collects any water that comes off to protects the drain, North Watuppa Pond. So
So there is currently runoff that comes from the site, there's a couple of head walls that.
there are, yes.
Yeah, one of my major concerns that was expressed at the beginning with them was making sure the pipe that conveys from the western side of the highway to the eastern side of the highway has the capacity to
Okay.
be able to take it. You know, based on their calculations, she can speak to the actual calculations, I don't think they were planning on increasing it, but the intensity may have changed,
Right.
which was my concern.
I just want to be sure that the interceptor drain can handle that.
Yeah, the interceptor drain isn't an issue, it's conveying it across.
Okay, perfect,
Route 24.
that's fine.
Yeah, and to address Paul's comment, we are reducing the rates that discharge to that pipe that goes below the highway
Okay.
in the 210 and 100-year storm.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
So, we would be voting on order conditions approved by the site planning review, right?
You would have a special condition that no work is to begin until site plan review approval has been completed.
Okay, so can I have a motion to, the work won't continue to the site approval committee approves?
Would you want to continue, or do you want to issue an order of conditions with a
Well,
special
issue an order of
condition?
conditions with the approval of the site planning committee.
With that contingency, sure.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that? You said that we wouldn't be holding anything up if it were delayed, if we did it in our next meeting, is that correct?
Well, there's a small chance that within the next 30 days, we could provide comments through site plan review. They could respond to those comments satisfactorily, and theoretically, we could get them a site plan review approval letter before the next meeting. I honestly don't see that happening, but let's give them that chance.
Okay, that's what you recommend,
I would recommend the issuance of an order.
because I want
With that
to
as a
support
condition.
you very strongly on this.
Thank you.
This is not an area in which I have great confidence.
Yeah, I mean, we've dragged, this entire site is dragged into your jurisdiction, really for some minor grading in the outside area of the 100-foot buffer
Right.
zone, so,
Thank you.
yeah.
All righty. So can I have a motion?
Motion.
You have a motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
I abstain.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The engineer is here for Brayton Avenue, if you want to back up, or you can continue and hold that at the end, that's up to you. But I know they have.
Can I have a motion to bring back 1262 Brighton?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, in favor? Aye?
Jump right in, Jamie.
Aye.
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 Just state your name and.
Sure. Good evening, Jamie Bissonette from Zenith Consulting Engineers for the record.
Good evening, Ken Fiola, Bristol County Economic Development Consultants.
So, I think roughly 2 months ago now, right? At our last hearing, we'd had some plans submitted. We spoke to the commission and told you that we'd also be
Could you
submitting.
speak a little more loudly, or I don't know if the microphone works.
They should
or
be
not.
now. Yeah, I think it'd be, just drag that closer to you, Jamie.
Sure. We also discussed submitting for site plan review as well, which we've done. We're in receipt of some comments from site plan review. I think most of them have to do with water and sewer for the most part, and connections. I've had some discussions with Dan about those. But in general, I think that we've come pretty close to having a complete plan set here, and hopefully looking to issue an order of conditions. We did have a couple of items. Dan was nice enough to send us over his memo for tonight's meeting with agenda items. In particular, there are a couple of things that I spoke with Dan about today. One was in the construction sequence. We wanted to just make sure that there was an understanding that the full stormwater basins could not be constructed until some of the demolition on the rock is done. And you'll see that in the plan set because some of them actually take place in where the blasting or mining is gonna have to go. Another one of the concerns that we had was about the operations on site. A note on there says that there's to be no processing on site. Our client
No what?
does processing of material. Our client does wish to do some processing on site. This is a construction/material yard. So we just wanted to make it abundantly clear that our intention is to do some processing on the site. And, what was the last concern? Do you remember, Dan? Oh, the guardrail.
Guardrail, that's right.
We spoke about the guardrail out on the front. So, I'm happy to entertain any questions. I don't know if Ken has anything to add.
Yeah, yeah, thank you very much. Essentially, what we're trying to do is just be able to take advantage of this construction season, as opposed to waiting to the spring of 2024. I think for the most part, the issues here that have been identified by Dan and hopefully looked at and ultimately approved by the commission are ones that we're pretty much in agreement with. You know, the processing of the materials, the stormwater utility basin issue, and the guardrail issue are the three that are problematic. With regard to the guardrail, that guardrail is actually city property. That's not something that's owned or, in my opinion, should be the responsibility of the developer there. There's a letter that we can submit to the commission essentially stating that that land upon which where the guardrail is located or was located is actually city-owned property as opposed to have it privately owned property. So again, that would be, to me, a simple issue of just having the water department reestablish the guardrail there as opposed to have the private developer do that.
If you want, why don't you let me give my report first, and then you guys can.
Okay.
Well, I just need to back up, because there's a couple of other unresolved things, Kenny. So, we had discussed, and it's come up at meetings in the past, and it's never really been locked down about diesel storage on the site.
Mm-hmm.
And I think pretty much this commission, I could be wrong, we're in favor of not allowing diesel storage on site. That has not been brought up. It is an issue, an area probably of contention and disagreement. And then processing can be a lot of different things, right? So exactly, some specificity with respect to the processing, because we're dealing with a site now where we're trying to resolve, it's been contaminated as a result of processing operations, and we're in an urban center here. So that's processing is a big thing. What would you be processing? Rock, you could be processing mulch, for crying out loud, you know?
Sure.
It's, that's just a very broad term that needs to be more clearly defined,
Okay, understood.
and it's a small site to be processing. I
To
mean,
that,
it's-
to the materials.
So the three larger bins, one is gonna be for broken asphalt and gravel. Second one is gonna be for broken concrete and gravel. And once the bins are full, we have a crusher there on site to turn it back into processed gravel.
Mhm.
That's the whole process that's
What-
gonna take place.
What's
I
the
don't
waste
understand.
product?
Could you say it again, a little more loudly?
So there's three larger bins on the site. One is gonna be for asphalt and gravel, the other one is gonna be for concrete and gravel, construction debris. Then I would take that and process it through a crusher to make processed brick.
What do you do with the-
Road base, sidewalk base.
Right, what do you do with the fines as a result of that operation? What are your plans for that?
Whatever, if it doesn't meet any sort of spec for the gravel, then I would
Like I said, we're dealing with an issue now with fines of the processing operation. Everything's, it's contaminated out there.
Yeah, the processing isn't for me to process and grade the property, whether it's for
Would you be okay with a condition that states that the fines, unusable fines would be taken off-site, and properly disposed of? That-
I mean, it's just a small site for processing, right? And it seems like this site continues to evolve over time, and every time we think we've got it captured properly, it evolves again, and we're chasing, we're playing whack-a-mole here. And I don't wanna hold up any business in the city, and I want everyone to be, successful in the business, but it's a small site, it's a confined site, and there are things that have happened where we asked for nothing to be stored on site, then we had road milling stored on site, and then we have vehicles parked on the right-of-way. Have any of those storage queues been moved off the city's right-of-way? Do we know that? Or are they still using those storage?
Right away was cleared.
It is
2
cleared?
meetings ago.
Okay. I will get out there to check it out, but, and again, I think we need to have some type of firm grasp on exactly what products are gonna be stored out there. And we still have to resolve the diesel issue, because I know that,
As far as the diesel issue, I'm gonna have a diesel storage tank to fill the equipment, but it's gonna have its own separate double containment, just like any National Grid site or MassDOT site or city site.
And they're,
It'll all be properly contained.
and they're far outside of the resource areas, they're well over here.
right, right.
Well, they're pretty close to a drainage swale.
Sure,
that you
they-
could
yeah,
construct.
Well,
absolutely.
the drainage swale on Brayton Avenue,
No, the
or
one that they need to build.
the one they
along
need to build,
Brayton
yeah,
Avenue, yes.
yeah.
Would you be ready to tell them the specific materials that you're gonna have on site?
I mean,
Tonight?
It's aggregate materials. Like I said before, stands, stone, mulch, like any material yard that you go to.
Is there any material that you don't want to see stored out there?
I think there needs to be a specific list of what will be stored, so that if it needs to be verified down the road,
Yeah.
these are very general terms, storage, processing, things like that, so what we're storing today might not be what we're storing tomorrow, so I think we need to look at this and quantify exactly what those products will be stored on site. We have the design of the bins, how those bins are gonna be set up.
They're all natural materials, if that matters.
Yeah,
No, it matters a lot, yeah, no, it does matter a lot. So if that could be somehow included, that they're natural materials, and we've got everything accounted for off-site migration, and, potentially to mitigate that, so. This is something new with the processing, I just think we need some more specificity. I mean, I do, I know that, so.
Well, I think we may be able to quantify that tonight.
that?
We may be able to quantify that tonight in terms of the processing.
Is it gonna be portable, stationary equipment,
Portable.
portable equipment?
And where is that gonna be set up? Because up until now, there's been no discussion about processing
Right.
materials on site.
No.
You stated that you were constructing a contractor's yard, and you needed all of this space for trucks and equipment.
Correct.
Now you're not gonna put trucks and equipment, now you're gonna put crushing machines, screeners.
The crusher machines and screeners are portable, so they'll come in maybe
Right, but so where will they go? Where are your trucks gonna go when you bring in that equipment?
right in front of the bins. They're portable, they're the size of the bins. So they'll come in, they'll be there for a day and they're gone.
So nowhere in the application was processing material advertised, discussed, so you guys can deal with that. But at least let me get through my comments, and you guys can think about how you want. So initially, and you've seen in my response, I'm recommending the issuance of an order of conditions.
Mhm.
However, there need to be many special conditions to ensure that the site gets developed properly. The first one is that no work should start until site plan review has been satisfactorily completed and approved. Similar to Diamond, the commission should specify the types of material to be stored on site and what materials are to be prohibited. This is a very broad range. This is not a transfer station or a construction debris processing facility. We were told this was going to be a contractor's yard, bin material that people could come and buy. If you wanted mulch to go work in your yard, you could go buy mulch. But now we're gonna have a rock processing facility located within the middle of it. That's for you to decide. Vehicle equipment, maintenance, and washing shall take place only within the existing and proposed structures on the property. The proposed structure shall include the appropriate floor drains and subsequent holding tanks and/or oil water separators. We've discussed that. The existing building would clearly be grandfathered. So anything that takes place in there, we discussed, we don't think there's floor drains in there, but I don't know. Item number 4, we need to discuss processing of materials. Right now, I would offer that processing of any material should not be allowed on site until you can specify what will it be and how big will these operations be. We need to take into noise, we need to take in dust control. There are many other things that close to a resource area that you need to look at for that type of inactivity, which has not been proposed until today.
So it should be documented.
Needs to be, somewhere it should be documented. Suppose there's an abutter that now looks at this and says, well, they never said they were gonna process material before, I didn't have a concern. But now if dust is gonna be flying across the Quequechan River extension part, or even onto the rail trail, what
Yeah.
kind of an impact does that have?
Yeah.
So, until today, so if you grant an order of conditions, how will you deal with this processing part?
I would assume, Dan, that we should, if there's gonna be processing of materials, that should be a separate,
It should have been either been included
be
or a separate filing.
So-
Exactly.
So I would, look, I want to issue an order of conditions. I know this has been going on for a long time, right? But part of it is that we get the information the Friday before a meeting, right? Part of it is that things seem to change. So I'd be comfortable with an order of conditions, but that there has to be a separate filing for processing, because this is just, there's a lot to this. And I get it, you're a businessman, we wanna support business people, but this is a lot, and I think this needs to be taken out and taken separately.
Okay.
Just on the processing equipment,
Mhm.
crushers, they have their own dust control built into the system. So it has spray bars on the conveyors to keep all the dust.
Right. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but we ask for materials not to be stored on site, and then they were, right? So,
And they were moved when they were
Okay.
asked to be moved.
right, but after the fact, so.
Just on the, on the processing issue, the way this is written, it says now is that, the commission should specify the types of material to be stored on site and what materials are to be prohibited
That's material storage in the bins.
in the bins.
Has nothing to do with processing.
Okay, those just, so
That's
what,
one
what,
item.
what materials are you prohibiting?
Let me get through the rest of my report. and then
Okay.
We'll respond to each one. Revised plans should be included that, again, had to deal with the guardrail along Brayton Avenue. Until the applicant came out and cleared that swale with vertical walls, a guardrail was not required. So, again, stormwater management facility or conveyance where the head wall was, Paul Furlan can probably offer what condition that should have been. So it's the condition that as a result of the activity of the applicant, of it being a sheer wall now, requires the installation of a guardrail.
Can I just interject on that?
Yep.
I didn't change any in elevation.
You didn't clean anything out of that swell.
I didn't change any elevation. I took the
Did you
trash out.
take anything out of the swell?
Trash.
Because now it's got a vertical wall where before it was kind of filled with stones and it was full of
Well,
trash.
it's full of stones, but it was not allowing any water to infiltrate. And so what happened is you had a
But it
pooling.
didn't have vertical walls.
It was it didn't have a vertical wall because it was full of stones and trash, right?
Stones, yes.
Right. So no water was getting through there. So what happened is you had a puddling situation on Duval Street, on Brayton Avenue, where planes were hydroplaning when they hit that puddle during storms. So as a result of cleaning the swale, that's no longer occurring. So the swale is actually performing the way it should have performed when it was initially constructed, albeit it was very poor construction. So the only thing that was moved from there was trash and the stones.
And the stone,
Right, but that's the city's property,
absolutely.
so the city should be responsible for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can differ in opinion.
Oh, no, I'll definitely differ on that one, because that's the city's property. If there's an improved, then the city should have maintained that property so as to alleviate the traffic situation, which they failed to do, and as a result, we had accidents there. And so I think we should really give that some serious thought. I wish
And then
Paul was
lastly-
still here. Oh, you are here. Yes.
So, as we got some of the comments in from the Department of Community Utilities, one of their comments specifically that you would like to deal with would be the actual design of the bins to ensure that runoff for whatever material is in there is not directed. And we talked about it a little bit, that the grading puts all of the water towards the front so that it could run through the drainage system. So they asked for a detail of those storage bins. Most of their other comments had to do with the sewer and water extensions and the separation of those utilities. all the way up to where they need to tie in. So lastly, I think, again, so that we don't have a Bell Rock Road 2, there has to be a very specific construction sequence that explains how this work is to be done. I've laid out one that I would propose, but this is up for you all to vote on and to discuss, working the way out of the property from the wetland restoration area first, and then work your way out as construction work gets completed. It's important that we put these conditions in place so that this does not become a ledge removal operation and no building ever gets built, no utilities ever get built. So this has to be done
Right.
in a way to protect us from this not happening, what happened before. Under 3 building permits, they were allowed to remove ledge by city ordinance. They removed the ledge and then walk away from the building of the 3 structures. So now we're left with a ledge removal operation. And from day one, we made it clear that this will not be the case here. Again, I don't vote. These are only items for you to discuss
Right.
and craft your own special conditions.
One thing, on the processing, if we're gonna approve.
Don't ask me.
I know,
I'm
no,
asking
no,
them.
I'm just putting this to the commission. If we're gonna approve this, he's saying asphalt and concrete. That should be the only thing we approve, and you were talking about a list of what we don't want. We can put a list, but we can leave things out. Anytime, if he does wanna change, he wants to add something else, each time he should come before us, rather than having a list of what we want and don't want.
Well,
I have no problem.
you 100% don't want the processing of construction debris, correct?
I'm not saying anything right now,
But-
I'm just talking about what's being proposed.
I'm sure he's gonna want a screen loan. Nobody's mentioned screening loan.
Well, then that has to come back again before
Well,
us.
that's,
and we-
so that's what you need to discuss.
Yeah,
They need to propose what types of material processing. They're not getting a permit that says, we're gonna process
well, that's what I'm
material.
saying, he's gotta be specific on what he wants right now, and any other time, if we did approve this, any other time he wants to change or add something else, every single time he'd have to come before us. Because I don't think we could put a list of what we do or don't want.
Or as history has shown, the chase will be on. So
So,
understand what's,
No,
this has been a-
listen,
this
and I
year,
understand.
Thanksgiving makes a year
Listen,
that we've been dealing with.
I
this.
understand that, but I don't think this particular petitioner should be held responsible for things that occurred on Bell Rock Road.
Well, I wasn't here at the time of
Y-
Bell Rock Road.
Okay, but I
tomorrow.
can tell you, this is a totally separate project. This is not the Bell Rock Road project. We have something that's here before us, and because Bell Rock Road was an absolute nightmare, which I understand, here we have a applicant that's trying to work with the city in good faith to try to resolve these things. Not that there aren't any questions, we certainly need to get those resolved, but it's 2 different issues, right?
No, I agree
Bad
with that, Ken.
experience with Bell Rock Road, let's
And
not
they
hold
weren't.
this guy
No,
responsible
No,
for
and
it.
I
I
completely.
have a question though.
I have a completely-
Jamie, you've been here in front of us, I don't know how long now. So why were we not told in the beginning that it was gonna be moved from storage to a processing facility? This is the first time I'm hearing about this. So I think that's what this commission has a problem with. The size of that, site there is right next to a resource area. It's a small site. And I mean, for me personally, I feel like there should have been more transparency of what was gonna be taking place there. I feel like you've taken, steps to come up and, be here now and say, now it's gonna be a processing site instead of a storage site. And I feel like that was maybe the plan the whole time, I don't know. But I mean, you guys were not really upfront with us and telling us what you're gonna do. And I have a big issue with processing material there. And what Chris is saying and what the city agent is saying, 100% agree with him. You don't have my support on the processing.
What do you agree with, just so we're clear?
I don't agree that there should be processing going on over there.
Any processing at all?
Well, not the way that you filed for this NOI.
Okay, so if we separated the processing from this issue, we could get Conservation Commission approval and then come back in for.
Right.
Yeah,
processing.
that's what
So this order would say
Right.
that as of now, there would be no
That
processing.
could
material.
happen, yes.
Yeah,
but
that's-
That
it's
is not
just-
a promise.
No, I'm just bringing that up.
Because all
Right.
of the members of the commission have not yet had a chance to.
I mean, we
say
still, like I said, we still gotta talk about what processing, what materials. There's a long list. That should be a discussion that we should have, separated from what's here right now.
Can I answer that question? It's not being changed to a processing facility. If I have 2 storage bins that are 30 by 30, a crusher will come in for 6 hours to crush that material, maybe once every 2 months.
Okay.
That doesn't make it a processing facility.
Well,
Does it?
processing does take place, but let me ask you a question. Where would these materials be coming from, raw materials for processing?
From different job sites.
So why couldn't they be processed on the job site? If the machines are portable, why wouldn't you process them on the job site right there? Then you don't have to then you're transporting the aggregate as opposed to the raw materials.
Because the small job sites that you do, 60 feet of sidewalk, you're not gonna process 60 feet of sidewalk on site.
Okay.
It needs to be mixed with gravel and crushed off-site because there's no room on the side of the road to process that material.
Right. I think the issue is this is all processing is brand new to all of us as of tonight. Brand new to all of us. And it's not something, we can approve an order of conditions tonight, but it will not, in my opinion, it will not include processing.
How about we take the processing materials off the.
Well, they're
table
not
right
before
now?
you.
Yeah.
They're not, all you can do is prohibit it
Yeah.
in your special conditions. I have a concern, and it's not a Conservation Commission concern, whether processing materials is allowed by zoning in this district.
Yeah.
So trucking terminals are, and we looked at that when the initial submission came in. Now through site plan review, when we give our comments, that will be one. Get a letter from the building inspector that the processing of materials on site like this isn't allowed use. Processing of materials inside a building is fish processing.
Well, I think it's pretty, well, is it commercial mill district?
Commercial mill district, yes. And I brought the
I
zoning
think that's-
bylaw
I
if we wanna
think-
read it, but that's a
Yeah, well,
separate issue.
I think it's pretty open-ended,
So we need a determination.
Right.
And that'll be done through site plan review.
correct, yeah.
So the-
Or through the zoning officer,
Yes, correct.
correct, yeah.
So on the ledge removal, that is,
That's a construction activity, completely different.
so we're gonna process that ledge on site.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's a construction activity to build your building.
Okay,
That's why you're building a building.
correct.
So it's not just a ledge removal.
Correct.
Ledge removal would not be allowed if you were only, we talked about this day one. If you were only gonna remove this ledge and not build a building in its place, you wouldn't be removing this ledge.
Do you have, I mean,
Good
you're a pretty big company, right? Do you have other sites that you could handle a processing
I'm not a
operation?
big company at all. This is
Well, I'm
my
just saying,
first site.
do you have another area, another location? Where do you presently house your vehicles?
1 Middle Street,
It's down the bottom,
yes.
yeah.
On the guardrail, Paul, could you answer this? Being it's a swell, are you in charge of the guardrail on that? Who would?
Paul's in charge of everything.
In charge of the guardrail, I wouldn't be able to comment specifically on whether we would be responsible for putting a guardrail up. One thing that Dan did mention that before it wasn't when it was vegetated, it wasn't as much of a visible hazard. Now that it's open, it is a visible hazard, so it is on city property now.
And it's on city, it might not be a visible hazard, but it certainly was a traffic hazard, right? Because the water was backing up and pooling and causing hydroplaning. If you provide the rail, I'm sure they'll install it.
On the water and sewer extension, building permit, that's been issued already?
No, just starting that, that's through site plan.
That's
review.
site plan.
Okay.
Okay,
so-
so
Chairman,
I'd like to make a motion that we issue an order of conditions excluding processing of materials, that be a separate filing, and that we follow Dan's recommendations with respect to construction sequencing.
But are there any materials you do not want stored in bins?
Stored in bins,
Yeah.
not processed.
Can-
Talking about the salt already.
I'd like
We
to
already did
discuss the
salt.
motion,
Okay,
He wants this.
but it hasn't been seconded, so
No.
right, no, I just put it out there because I want to try to,
We just, maybe, can we,
I'd like to raise a different issue. And we got a little bit close to it when we talked about zoning. Now, I've been up there 3 or 4 times, 4 now. This actually was the first time I've been there in the sunshine, believe it or not, because it's been a rainy spring and summer. I was struck by a couple of things. I had not fully realized how close is the Quequechan River We are not talking, the parallel with the, Bell Rock Road, for example, is not, I don't think, we're not that close to the water. We've got some wetlands there, but we're very close. It looked to me that if stuff is spilt, or stuff is spilled and rolls, drips, is carried by the water, it goes in the Quequechan River. Goes downhill and right over the gap there near the, big, what do you call it, the big sign there.
The billboard.
Now, didn't you go,
Billboard, yeah, thank you for the word.
isn't ours 25, but you went back 35 feet?
So,
And how
yeah.
close will you be?
Well, it varies depending upon location. but,
Well, how is the closest you will be?
I believe the chair was right. It's gonna be at least about 35 feet. What we're doing is, instead of right now, where the pitch goes down towards the water, instead what we're doing is we're creating a low point before that. So it would have to go into our low point and then through our drainage and treatment system, which is shown going around
Oh.
here and going around here. So it would have to go down through that. It would physically then have to go uphill to then be able to get towards the water itself.
The
So-
closest storage bin is 50 feet, and that's the guidance that you gave the applicant at a previous meeting.
That's
Right,
true.
but
Within
it
that 50
seemed that
feet,
there was- it
They
was
have a
closer than
25-foot
that.
area that they'll be restoring. Then they were allowed an area for stormwater management systems, which is the drainage swales, the infiltration
Okay.
trenches, and detention ponds. The storage of material does not take place within 50 feet of the BVW.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, we modified it at your request.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with an older land, okay? There's been a lot of changes in this.
There have,
But to me, the big issue, a second big issue, this has not been discussed at this, as far as I know, at this meeting, until tonight, which is is it okay to remove the rock?
Yeah. The ledge?
I mean, is it legal? I don't think, I mean, it's not, in my judgment, it's a beautiful site. It's an absolutely gorgeous place, in spite of some stuff that's there. It's an absolutely beautiful spot. And clearly, it's going to be, if it's used for the current purpose, the rock will go and it won't be as nice. So I'm wondering if it is in fact legal to take the rock away.
Dan, wasn't the ledge outside of our?
Well, the majority of the ledge is outside of jurisdiction. However,
Is all of
if,
it?
I think only maybe maybe a small portion of the northerly edge might be within the buffer
I
zone.
thought- Yeah.
But
that's
what you need to understand, Reverend, is that the Conservation Commission oversees the Wetlands Protection Act and the performance standards associated with it. That's your teeth, that's all that you can impose. So
Right.
over a year, we've worked with the applicant to have them meet those standards. We now need to tidy up some of the i's, dotting of i's and crossing of t's. The ledge removal is governed by city ordinance, where if it is in conjunction with the construction of a building, the ledge removal is allowed and legal. If there is no building, you couldn't just come to the Conservation Commission and ask to remove ledge. That's why we are proposing conditions that make sure that a building gets constructed.
Thank you.
But as far as the performance standards of the Wetlands Protection Act and stormwater runoff, the applicant has provided everything that we've asked for. We now need to be specific with, it can't just be general, you can store whatever you want in these bins.
Could we be specific?
Because it could be uranium, right? But if,
Could we get away with, don't remove any rock?
no,
No.
you don't have the right to do that.
See, I don't think we do, but
Correct.
I'm searching for, I just,
When they get the building
when I
permit, they
talked
can
with-
remove the
When I
ledge.
talked with the gentleman this morning up there, he said this is a trucking business. Is it?
Yes, trucking
Primarily,
construction,
yes. That's what all the trucks on the plans are. where they'll be
Yeah.
parking and maintaining vehicles. So primarily, it's a trucking business
So,
that will utilize these bins for materials that they truck.
right. So that, this is, it looks to me as if bought the site, you wanna store the trucks there, and you wanna carry the stuff back and out and so forth from the bins, and probably use the trucks for, in other places. I understand that the gentleman this morning said that he picks stuff up in the Tiverton place, materials, and delivers it. And it isn't big enough, to, for all the trucks without, taking the rock away.
Well, they're getting a building permit so they can take the ledge away. They're gonna build a building there.
They need a
That's how
building to
they can do
maintain
it.
the vehicles as well. And
If they
that's the
weren't gonna
building
take
they're
the,
building.
put a building there, they couldn't take the ledge down.
Yeah, I mean, so the ledge goes because we couldn't find a bigger flat spot.
Well, the applicant has the right to propose what they need to construct to operate their business.
I'm not, I guess maybe I'm not talking totally about rights, but I'm, searching.
Or the
It's like
country of
the
rights.
right, the right shouldn't get in the way, right?
Some of the rock, however, is in our purview. Not a lot, I mean, I looked at the map as carefully as I could. So, now, the problem is that as I see it, if you, whether it's processing or truck stripping or, I was assured they'd never drip, right? That you're very close to the river. I'm not sure that your system will work. If it doesn't work, then what happens is the stuff goes there, and then I guess it goes down the Atlantic Ocean, and we all eat the fish when we get fish and chips at Higson's, I guess.
We did
That's-
review the drainage plans
Yeah.
so many months ago, and everything was up to spec on, as far as
No,
that
I
goes.
didn't totally believe it then, and I still don't believe it. But that's what I wanted to say, and
All right. Okay.
there's been, I'm simply concerned with all the changes and everything.
So with respect to the materials being stored on site in the bins, could you provide us a list of what you will be keeping on site? We'll review that list, because again, we can say this or that, it may not fit your needs, right?
Right.
So if you submit a list to us, we'll review the list, we'll decide yes, or yes for these and not for those.
Okay.
You provide us that list, and that's what we'll hold you to.
Want to go
in
make
the
a
order.
list and come back at the end of the meeting so that we can get this resolved tonight?
Sure.
And it doesn't have, I mean, we can put that as a condition within the order of conditions, that you will provide a specific list of materials to be stored on site. So you don't have to run out and
Yeah.
make a list. But we can make that, so we can get you the order of conditions that you need, so you can proceed, because it has been almost a year, so.
Yeah, I'd like to get an order given tonight, so whether it's conditional upon, I just don't want there to be a list that somebody balks on, and then
Right,
now.
no, listen, I think we all want to get on the same page, right?
If you wanna take 30 minutes to
Yeah.
make a list, it shouldn't be that difficult.
I have one more question, if you don't mind. As far as the swale, the rock that was there, that was removed completely?
No.
Oh, so the rock is still there?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah,
just the trash is removed.
And now, why do we need the guardrail again then? Because it's
'Cause
exposed?
it's
it's a
exposed.
sheer wall, you
Sa-
can just
safety.
drive in.
Yeah.
So they
You're gonna
actually.
pull off the road,
so-
you're going in.
So there were no cones up previous, and for the history of time that it's been in existence. As soon as it was cleaned out, thank goodness, the applicant put up some cones to alert people to the fact that was there. Cones are a temporary guardrail. So somewhere along the line, a guardrail needs to be installed.
So why was the guardrail not there previously when it was?
I don't know, I wasn't here.
It was not there because
I don't think it was a sheer wall, I think it was a little bit more.
the
of a
swale
slope
became
to it.
so overgrown that it was compacted, right? So there was no water that was going through there for any sort of release. So what happened is, you wouldn't drive into the swale because it was almost level. Now that the swale is performing like a swale should perform, by moving.
Because of the removal of the trash?
And yes.
Because they all need
that's-
to be maintained. We have
Right.
to maintain them.
That's
I'm
it.
just trying to figure out
Yeah.
if there was a guardrail,
Well,
In the first place,
permit
there wasn't a guardrail
require
there.
that a guardrail be installed, and then we'll argue about who installs it. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're willing to install it, they just don't wanna be responsible for stuff that the city should be doing, and we have this conversation in the industrial park all the time with the swales up there as well, so it's just.
No, I'm glad
Yeah.
that they cleaned it out.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
trying to figure out who has,
Yeah.
Yeah.
who's gonna pay for the guardrail and how that comes into play.
Actually, yeah, and actually, they should be looking at that whole swale system, because even the swale on the state side.
We don't deal with the state.
I know, but that's,
And that's not cleaned out to this degree.
that's not the whole thing is not functioning the
Okay.
way it should, but that's a whole nother issue.
All right.
Do we need a table too?
Well, we'll table to the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
And then
Table
give
this
it
to the end of the meeting?
Motion's on there.
Second.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, wait a minute, does anybody in the audience have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions out there?
I don't think there's anybody here, but.
Okay, thanks.
Is there a vote?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, we all vote, yeah.
Yeah.
Aye.
No.
Just to table it till later in the evening.
Table
Oh,
delay.
what is the vote? The vote
They're
was
coming
to-
back with a list. of
table, they're
They're
gonna
materials.
come back
gonna go
with a
make a
list.
list of materials
Okay, I
and come
could
back.
not hear that, and because I was spaced
Table
out
again.
on something else.
Okay. All right,
I'll vote yes on that, and
Item
Table.
04,
okay.
I think they're here
Judge
now.
Street here?
No,
Yeah, item 04 is here, right? Judge Street? Yeah.
Judge?
You wanna stay under old business and,
what's he gonna do with it?
Well,
Yeah.
Do Judge Street?
04 we had tabled until they.
yeah, I
came.
know, well,
Yep.
he's old business and was still on it, so I figured
Yeah,
use
so
him,
let's go to
yeah.
that.
So we're gonna go to 04?
Yes.
All right. All right, 04, notice of intent is the dash 24-2825, Antonio Almeida, 38 Judge Street. Assessors map is Y-09-0010. Filed applicant, proposing construction of a single-family, house, table from July 10th. Just state your name and,
Sure. John D'Souza from North County Group.
So would you say that again, sir?
John D'Souza from North County Group, Inc.
From where?
North County Group, Inc.
Okay, thank you.
So gentlemen, the applicant has submitted a revised plan minimizing the amount of work being done, now building a small addition off the back of the home, still within your jurisdiction. I would recommend the issuance in order conditions with the only special condition of completing site plan review, as we have in the others.
yeah, I didn't see any problem. Does the board have any questions?
None?
Okay,
Anybody in the
so,
audience, questions?
any questions from the audience? Okay. Can I have a, motion to issue a
So
order of
moved.
conditions, with the, completion of the site plan review?
Yep, so move that.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Item 1 on the new business.
Did you go up there?
All righty.
Did you see the
Request for
place?
certificate of compliance,
No.
SE-24-761, owner applicant, Department of Conservation Recreation, project location, Copel Cut Road, assessors map is W-19-0010, file Department of Conservation Recreation, requesting certificate of compliance, stating that work regulated above referenced order condition has been satisfactorily completed. Anyone here for that?
I don't know if there's anyone here, but I recommend the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
Can I, have a motion for certificate of compliance?
Motion to approve COC?
Just one quick question. So they didn't complete all of the punch-ins, they only completed 3 out of the 5, is it?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, unless you want, you don't have to issue it. They would then need to come back in for, if you feel that what was left out was an overall factor in why you approved it, they will have to come back and file again for anything they did not complete, if you issue a certificate. Or you can table it and we can
Right.
wait till they, I thought somebody would be here.
Yeah, quite honestly, personally, I've seen the eastern end of the trail work that was done, and I have some concerns about what I saw. Clockfield Trail, so I have not gotten to see the west end where they install the bridges of the puncheons. I have spoken to a couple of people from the association that was advocating for the extension of the trails. I'd like to be able to get out there and see exactly the work that's been completed before we approve it, because if you recall, I had to abstain, but I had a number of questions about the work they were doing.
I'll withdraw my motion then.
Yeah,
Okay. We didn't have a
I'd really
second,
like to
though,
see it get out there, and like I said, I've walked part of it, but not the entire thing. I have some concerns about how they've laid out some of the trails right now. And then, of course, you know, the enforcement issues out there, but that's not really part of this issue. So I'd recommend we table it until next
Okay.
meeting. so
Do I have a
can
motion
knock
to
it out
table?
there.
Motion to table.
Second.
Roll call?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Alrighty. Next, review and discussion memorandum from out of understanding submitted from the Department of Community Utilities for Conservation Commission to confer all cares, custody and control of portions of property known as Adirondack Farms located at 1046 Blossom Road.
Good evening. Paul Ferlin, Administrator of Community Utilities. So what you have in front of you today is a memorandum of understanding between the Commission and Department of Community Utilities, DCU, which is my department. This is in relation to the land that we purchased known as Adirondack Farm. The plan is to turn that into a discovery center, a bioreserve discovery center out in that area. We were in front of the commission prior in relation to this property, and portion of the property needed to be under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission when it was purchased due to grants that we got from the state for the land grant. So we took this parcel, made it into two. There's seven plus acres, which is on the water side of the property, and then there's 2+ acres on the upland side towards Blossom Road. The memorandum of understanding essentially, Water Department and the partners of the bioreserve plan on having a presence out there at the Discovery Center moving forward and in the future. What we'd really like to do is the Conservation Commission allow us to be able to take care of and maintain that property in the back that's under your care, control, and custody. We've done this with other properties before within the watershed area that needed to go under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission, and then we do an MOU back to DCU for the maintenance of the property, since it's in our best interest to be able to maintain this property. The property is also going to, it's going to have a conservation restriction, which we're going through right now, getting that conservation restriction in place. It looks like the trustees of reservations will be the holder of the conservation restriction. We've already done the preliminary baseline on the property, and they will be, we're working with EOEEA to finalize all the talks within that conservation restriction. The other thing that will be on the property also, there was CPC funding used for this property, so there also is a restriction from the CPC for this portion of that whole property.
On the property now, will we get a report how maintenance and everything's going, or how does that work on?
Yeah, if you wanted maybe a yearly report, something like that, we could have our forester who maintains all of our 4,500 acres do a yearly report to the commission in regards to this property, any activities that we've done out there, anything that we've done. This is going to be a space that's used for passive recreation, so some trails. There's a cemetery located on the property. It connects with some of our other stuff. So, and the conservation restriction is very strict on what the property can and can't be used for. But if you wanted to put it in the MOU, that we provide a yearly activities report, we could do that.
Just to keep us updated, does the board have any questions?
So is this MOU basically to satisfy that grant restriction? Is that why it's being,
So, not necessarily. So the property is owned under the care and control of the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission doesn't have ability, staff, or anything like that to be able to maintain the property, mow the fields, manage the trails, manage the signs, be able to, approve or disapprove uses and stuff like that. So that's what this MOU would allow DCU, Department of Community Utilities, essentially the Tupper Water Board, to be able to do.
okay. Yeah, I would think that what the chair has said about the MOU having some type of yearly report, I'd be for that if the rest of my colleagues would agree to that as well.
Okay. So, No further questions.
I just have one, of course, support this strongly. Would you object to just, when we approve it, we have a stipulation that there be a conservation restriction?
That's fine if you wanted to make that
I
stipulation
would
again.
like that,
Um,
Well,
the-
it's gonna be with the conservation deed restriction, it's gonna be in there, right?
Right, there will be, already be two, one to the CPC, a conservation restriction, and then there will be, the other one that is, managed and, maintained by the trustees.
That's the one I'm making sure that occurs, that's all I,
Yeah, so once that's, finalized and put on record, we can make sure that the commission gets a copy of that.
yeah, so a stipulation, we get a copy of the deed.
All right. So can I recommend the acceptance of provision with the Conservation Commission has no fiduciary responsibility, and that we get a report to us once a year on conditions and
And there'd be a
upkeep.
and there,
we could have a conservation restriction on file.
Motion.
Motion?
Motion accept.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes,
Aye.
aye,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you. Next
Mr.
is.
Chairman, do you wanna take item number 4, only because it's for Paul as well? And it'll-
Okay.
It'll be quick, just so that. he
Can I have a motion to take item 4 out of,
Appreciate that.
Motion to take item 4 out of order?
So moved, seconded?
roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes,
Okay. 4 is request certificate of compliance, SE-24-700, owner applicant is Fall River Department, Community Utilities. Project locations, President Avenue, Oak Grove, Cemetery, David Street, assessor's map is P-04-0056, P-24-001, 002, 003, 004, 005, and P-25005, P-19-0053, and P-27001, and P-07-002 and 005, filed by the Fall River Department of Community Utilities, requested a certificate of compliance stating that the work regulated by the above reference order of condition has been satisfactorily completed. Board have any questions?
Make a motion, we issue a certificate of compliance?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
yes,
Aye.
aye,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Back to 3. Notice of intent, owner applicant, Rigger Leasing LLC. Project location is WS Riggenbach Road. This is map Z-03-0099, filed by Northeast Engineer and Consultant on behalf of applicant. The applicant proposes to construct 2 commercial warehouse buildings and associated access driveway and utilities on the west side of Riggenbach Road in Fall River, Mass. Access to the second building requires a wetlands crossing, which will result in 4,000 square feet of bordering vegetated wetland, altercation, and replication. Did we get a file number on this?
No, not yet, but you can allow the presentation.
Okay.
Good evening. For the record, Jeff Bowman from Northeast Engineers and Consultants, here tonight representing Rigger Leasing LLC, the applicant for the notice of intent that's before you. Just to give you a little history of the site and what's been going on, we have been before the commission before with this site to have the wetland line approved. Therefore, the wetland line that you see represented on this plan has been reviewed and approved by the Conservation Commission. So we got that locked down. The site itself is the first big lot behind Robbins Manufacturing, going up Riggenbach Road as you turn north from Airport Road. As you can see on the plan, what we have is we're dealing with 2 large upland areas. On the overall site is 22.3 acres. Each upland area that we have, 6+ acres in size, right around 6¼ acres. So what we're looking to do at this point is we've been kicking around, there's been so many different variations of plans that we've had for this site. What we're trying to do is to pin down almost a limit of work at this point before we can finalize design. So the reason I wanted to come in tonight, and I was not expecting approval, I know we don't have a DEP file number. I know this was just kind of dumped on Dan at the last minute last week, like this final plan, and I know he has some concerns, legitimate concerns that need to be addressed. But the reason I wanted to come in tonight is just to present the plan, show you what we're looking to do, and hopefully establish the limits that we can fine-tune the design, work within, and get the plan to a point where, you know, it'd be acceptable to this board, and also moving forward with site plan review. So what I can quickly do is go over the plan. Just before I get into that, what we're trying to do is the limit of work that was shown on this plan. We're maintaining a 25-foot no disturb zone going around the parking areas, the building areas, access areas, and all that. Around the detention basins, we've gone down to 10 feet, which I understand has been allowed practice by the commission in the past. And all we're trying to do is, like I guess any developer's trying to do, is maximize the use of their property, which to me, in this location being up in Airport Road, is kind of vital. One of the main issues that we have to deal with, and it's been a real problem, is the grading associated with this site. You know, we have, you know, the large wetland that cuts through the middle, extends on the north side. In between, well, on either side, you have these two large uplands, but they're not just a couple of feet higher than the wetland. We're talking the upland area on the south rises to about elevation 198, the road being at like 162 or 164 in that area, so it's a substantial grade change. The upland on the north side goes up to about elevation 186. And I do understand with the plan that you have before you tonight, there was a layer that was left off, which identifies the existing contours, and so you'd probably be looking at it and can't make, you know, sense of which is which. So I just wanted to point that out to you before we got into it. So basically, just to quickly go over the plan, what we're looking to do is to install one access road that would provide access to two buildings. Two manufacturing style buildings with some office space within. The buildings, the one to the south would be just over 50,000 square feet in area. The one to the north, which would be divided into two units, would have a total of about 75,000 square feet. The associated parking areas that we have it doesn't really show up all that well on the plans that you have before you, but it does accommodate the parking required by the City of Florida zoning code. So we're confident we have adequate parking. The idea being, again, with the one access way, we'd be coming in at the southern end of the property in this location, coming in and providing access to the first building. There'd be full circular access going around the building with a loading dock in the back in this location here. The second access, even though it doesn't show that way, this is an error on this presentation plan. This is a road, it should not be green. The access would be through the wetland. There'd be a little crossing here, about 10 to 15 feet in width, about 600 square feet in area, to get over to this upland island that we have, and then to cross onto the main upland body on the north side. That would be an additional 3,600, 3,000 square feet of alteration, about 75 feet in width. And that would provide access. There would be full vehicular access around that building as well. We are utilizing a number of retaining walls, which vary in size. I want to say the maximum height of any one retaining wall would be about 8 feet. Most of them are in this 4 to 6 range. And, you know, due to the existing topography of the site, they are necessary in order to get this site to work. We tried to, you know, grade it out as best we could and eliminate the retaining walls, but unfortunately they are necessary on this site. But in my opinion, they do form a nice permanent barrier between the upland area, the usable upland area, and the wetland, the adjacent wetland areas. Same thing with the detention basins and the slopes that we have graded around the building. So when it's all said and done, when the site gets developed, there will be some, you know, natural and man-made barriers that would prevent any, you know, disturbance to the wetland, to the adjacent wetland areas. So, you know, with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission might have, but again, on understanding that tonight, the only thing I'm really trying to accomplish is to lock down a limit of work, if you have any concerns with proximity to wetlands and different things shown on the plan, we can certainly address them moving forward.
Okay. Does the board have any questions? I see, Dan, you had some.
I have a number of comments that I can and already had discussed with Jeff a little bit, some of them, that he and I can work through, and as well with DEP. I think the main concern is that the commission should provide some guidance, if they're okay with the reduction in the 25-foot no-touch policy around the stormwater management facilities. The applicant has gone to the extent of even constructing retaining walls to ensure that that no-touch zone is maintained around buildings and parking facilities. However, drainage structures, I was not here when that policy was implemented. I don't know if that was contemplated for stormwater management facilities. In the past, we have allowed development closer when it comes down to a stormwater management facility encroaching in that 25 feet. So I think that's really the only guidance that you can give Jeff this evening.
Okay. So if we stayed at 25, what would you lose? Parking?
Well, yeah, we'd have to relocate detention basins and conceivably lose parking, or, building area. There's a good chance that once this is all said and done, the limit of work will be reduced slightly. This is kind of the maximum. This is kind of maxed out as best we can. I mean, we have run through the calculations. The detention basins and outlet structures that we have on the plan have been sized to accommodate the 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storms. So we know they'll work, but there's one detention basin has about 1.5 feet of freeboard. The other one has a foot, which we typically like to have. But I mean, those could be lessened if need be to maintain the 25 feet.
We have the ability to shorten up some of the slopes, either using riprap or doing something so that 3-to-1 slopes aren't required on that wetland edge side.
Okay.
And those are the kinds of things I think that Jeff's looking for.
All right.
So I think you're not voting, but
Yeah.
but you could poll it, let's say that if the board is comfortable with 10-foot no touch zones when it comes to relation of stormwater management facilities. And then there still needs to be test pits, so there's so much work that needs to be done on this.
Yeah.
But that little bit of guidance would be productive, I think.
Yeah, we're kind of not going about it backwards, but obviously the biggest concern with this particular site is the environmental issues. That's why we felt it important to come in here first, get some feedback on that, and then proceed with moving forward with finalizing design, site plan review, and then, getting this commission a plan that could be voted upon.
So Jeff, it looks like the replication area is going to be slightly larger than the altered
Correct.
area?
Yes.
About 400 square feet?
Yes. Yeah, it's about 3,600 alteration, just over 4,000 for the replication area.
What's that going to look like?
In terms of,
It's going to be an exact replication of what's there now, or?
there's a planting
Is there
detail, I don't
detail?
have it,
Okay.
I'm sorry, on the
No, it's okay,
presentation
no
plan,
worries,
but
it's there, I can look at it.
yeah, it's a pretty standard planting detail that we
Okay.
use. There's not, where that replication area is, it's not a huge grade change, so it'd be easy enough to pull it back, get it down to the level where we need it, provide the plantings, and I have no doubt that would be successful in that area.
Any other questions?
Audience?
Any in the audience? All right, can I have a motion to table?
Well, you're gonna give some guidance.
Oh, okay, all righty.
Does anybody have a concern with stormwater management facilities being as close as 10 feet to the bordering vegetated wetland?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, that's all we asked was your answer.
All right.
Anybody else?
I would be okay if they added other things that you said they could
Okay.
be fine with
Try
that.
to
Well,
pull it back
let's
as
say
best
this,
we
a
can.
reduction from the 25 foot. So let's not pin it down to 10.
Yeah,
I'm
Potentially
thinking
a
of-
reduction in 25,
Yeah.
taking into consideration
Okay.
some of the things we've discussed.
I also
Yeah.
would like to see it, it's at some point before we,
Oh, of course yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I'm gonna start at the buildings now and kind of minimize the parking that I may need. It might be a little bit more than what I actually needed out there that I'm showing on this plan. So if I can pull the parking back a little bit, that could enable me to, make these basins a little bit smaller. But this is kind of like a worst-case scenario maxed out. approach.
Okay,
And if there
Anything
needs to be
else?
more retaining walls, then there's more retaining walls.
yeah. Any other suggestions? Okay, motion to table then?
Motion?
Seconded?
Roll call?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jeff's here, I think, for the,
Yeah, I was here for,
are you here for the next one yet, or no?
it's not the next one, it's the one after. David Street.
Okay. Do you wanna take him out of order?
Can I have a motion to take item 6 out of order?
Motion take out of order?
Second?
Aye.
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 Yes.
All right. Requested certificate of compliance is SE-24-514, owner applicant is Leo Souza. Project location 106 David Street, assessors map is P-24-001, filed by Northeast Engineer Consultant on behalf of applicant. The applicant is requesting a certificate of compliance stating that all disturbed areas within the established work limits have been stabilized.
So, board members, we had requested that we get a revised plan that illustrates a drainage easement that had been conveyed to the Department of Community Utilities, which was actually part of the last project that Paul had just asked for his certificate of compliance for. That and the letter that was provided from the professional engineer, I would recommend the issuance of a certificate of compliance. This is a home that was constructed a number of years ago. It's been in existence, I don't know, since what, '06 maybe,
I believe
'07?
06, 07, in that range.
This just came to light as the project, the home was being sold, and the closing attorney for the buyer's bank required that the certificate of compliance be issued, so sometimes these
Yeah.
things work, so. we're here.
The homeowner was unaware that it was
Yeah.
required, so, which you see quite a bit.
So we got the letter and everything, we're
Yeah.
all set on that.
Yep, we'll
Okay.
get that today.
So can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call?
Aye.
All right. Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Does the board wish to go back to 1262?
And we're gonna move on to
Why don't we
finish
do
new business.
Sportsman's Club?
Finish new
They've been here
business?
since early
That's
this
just a
evening.
quick extension.
Yep, that's, gonna be fast.
All right.
Number 7?
They've had an education tonight of the Conservation Commission already, they don't need it any longer.
Maybe on Williams.
Yeah,
You
okay.
can stay sitting.
So we were on item now.
It's a 7.
No, 5.
We didn't, you skipped 5.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're-
yeah.
we're gonna go to 7,
Yeah,
and
we'll
then
se-
go to
And go to
Okay.
5.
All right, can I have a motion to take 7 out of order?
Motion.
moved.
Second?
Okay.
Aye.
Roll call. Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, extension of
Aye.
permit for order of conditions SE-24-723, owner applicants East End Sportsman Club, project location 100 Sportsman Club Road, assessors map is Y-09-0043, filed by applicant. The applicant is requesting an extension of order conditions. The applicant is requesting a 1-year extension.
I recommend the issuance of the order, we can leave them
Now, why
sitting.
don't you come forward? Why didn't you come forward?
No,
You can just state your name from there, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I can't hear him if he talks.
Okay.
It's my neighbor anyway. I mean,
Oh, okay.
nice neighbors, huh?
Yeah.
You were right.
Yeah, former neighbors. Well, still a neighbor, I guess, across the woods.
That's why there's fences. That's why there's fences.
Jim, did you have a certain question you wanted to ask?
No, I just wanted to ask, it's an extension of what work?
Okay, 2 years ago, we got approval on, as you mentioned, SE, it's 24/7/23. We did two walls, 2 sides, and then COVID hit, and therefore our membership, clam boils, dinners, suppers, dances, and all that, they just started up this year. We just ran out of money, to be honest with you.
Oh, understandable.
So now we're saying we got 2 more sides to finish, and we'd like to finish those.
Okay.
So that's why we're asking for an extension.
All right. Board have any other
We may have
questions?
said we had all the way to October 30th, I think. for this one. And we might do one wall by then, but we need more time to do the last wall for sure.
Okay.
So I didn't wanna come, I'm a one-man band lately, and my wife has these and those,
I'll make a,
calls, helps me out.
I make a motion, we recommend the issuance of a one-year extension.
second,
Second, okay, roll call vote?
Aye.
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 yes.
Do I
Aye.
just post the same sign, the SE sign?
Well, it should still be up, but yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
You're all set.
Thank you.
thank you.
I see you, Mr. Hornsby.
All right.
We'll get that fence.
So, back to item 5, discussion of Bell Rock Road restoration soil testing required by commission as, discussion of Bell Rock Road. Is
Yeah.
someone here from Bell Rock Road? Would you like to come up? Yeah.
So if I can, commission members, I'll just read you what I have to offer tonight before we have a discussion with the applicant. And we did reach out and request them to come so that they could be part of the discussion. If you recall, a few months ago, we had issued the order that required some soil testing be done on the fill material that had been brought into the site that you all had questions about. So the soil testing that was required by the commission has been completed and indicates some level of contamination. Contaminants present do not seem to exceed the minimum reporting limits to Mass DEP. The commission should require an LSP opinion letter from the firm that performed the testing, and that all testing should be formally submitted with the appropriate signatures, chain of custody, etc. The commission may also wish to utilize the services of their own LSP for review, comment, and guidance on the fill material. So, after a few months of continually asking for the results of the testing, and not getting it, I reached out directly to the environmental firm, with the woman that I had met that day doing the testing, and she sent me the report directly. I forwarded it all to you back at that time. And it elaborates on the types of material that were found in the fill material. Anywhere from arsenic, barium, cadmium, lead, aromatic hydrocarbons, VPH, target compounds. Everything was found in at least half of the holes. I was personally on site to look at the excavated materials. If you remember when we started this conversation, we had a photograph of some fill material that we had seen on site. Contained some stumps, some earthy material, some concrete, and we were told that that material was not being pushed into the hole. Well, on a few of the holes, at the very deepest portion of the excavation, directly adjacent to where we saw the piles, that material was observed at about 8 feet, buried below other fill material. So not only that material tested positive, this is all material sitting in the water table. What appears to be clean fill, and we were told was clean fill throughout the rest of the site, also contained a number of these contaminants. Now, it's very important to understand that these laboratory results show that it's present. If it exceeds a certain amount, then that's a mandatory reporting to DEP. It did not hit that level of contamination being present. However, I am not an LSP. I cannot provide you with that guidance of whether or not the sheer presence of these materials is okay. So one, the environmental firm that did the testing on behalf of the property owner, which it wasn't even the property owner, it was G. Lopes Construction, Inc., who I think was doing the operation. The property owner is, I believe, Bell Rock Road, different name to it, LLC.
Berkeley Street LLC.
So I would recommend that we get an assessment from the environmental firm and their opinion in writing to the commission, as well as seeking out a review of this 51-page document of the testing that's taken place. This is beyond any of the other restoration activities that have gone on, observed, not observed. So I'd like to we can talk about anything you want tonight. However, I think this needs to be addressed first with regards to this fill material.
Yeah, I think we should have our own LSP review before we move on.
Independent
Any other
LSP.
questions?
No, I mean, mean, we've been assured time and time again that it was clean fill that was being brought out there, and it's obvious that that was not the case. In addition to that, I don't know if Dan received it, but someone sent me a video, in one of our more significant rain events this summer, completely failed erosion control, sediments washing across Bell Rock Road.
Yep.
Catch basins that were supposed to be maintained, not maintained. I mean, erosion control supposed to be maintained, not maintained. And we continually deal with this issue at this site, and we ask for something to be done. We issue a cease and desist. It doesn't get done. It took us years to get a gate put up, an appropriate gate put up, rather than a pot from a piece of heavy equipment tied to a dog cable. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I think I've said it the last time. I thought I'd run out of patience. I guess I haven't. This is just unacceptable. So,
Something I want to note also in the letter from Green Seal Environmental, the very first paragraph, is that the sampling event was conducted in order to identify potential soil contamination associated with historic filling at the property. I don't think this can be characterized as historic filling.
since it's
I think
filled.
it should be recent filling, and hopefully they'll address that. Also, their narrative of what types of material, some areas of wood waste type fill were encountered in the northeastern portion of the property at depths of 7 to 8 feet. We observed it. I observed it. I have photographs. There was concrete block. There were metal angle irons.
House plantings,
Yeah, there was stumps, wood. So it's
mulch.
It is of great concern. But I think you can let I don't know if the applicants have anything. We just wanted you to be here to listen. If you don't have anything to add, then you don't have to speak. But if you would like to add something, by all means do so.
But I just want to say that we did not bury any stumps there. There was a load there. You guys, everybody's seen that. We hauled that away. I did not bury any stumps there. And when we did the test, I don't think we seen any stumps.
Were there any pieces of trees that were buried? I consider that a stump.
Well, I don't consider that a stump. Like I told you, it was loam screenings.
Well, the top 3 feet of a stump. How's that?
Well, I mean, I went out there, walked the property. I picked up pieces of brick, steel pipe.
We screen a lot of loam, and that's the screenings that we mix with a sandy subsoily fill.
Yeah, you're fine.
And filled in. A sandy, silty fill. We screen a lot of loam.
All right, well, I've been out there.
It's rock, it's sticks, it's
Well, there are 2 different kinds of material out there. The material that we're discussing that you see throughout the site and between 4 to 5 feet. The material below 7 to 8 feet that's sitting within the groundwater that contained steel, concrete, wood debris, whether it be stump or branches or trees themselves. And I think you were fairly surprised to see it yourself when we found those areas.
A piece of steel,
Yeah.
piece of rebar,
That's quite a
something
bit,
like that,
yeah.
yeah. But we did not go out there and bury demolition and
Did you think the
stumps.
material had this level of contaminant in it when it was buried?
No,
Because I know
No.
it was
Not at
offered that
all.
this was clean fill.
not at all.
Okay.
So with I'm just curious why the request for the results Dan had to reach out on his own to get those results.
I don't understand that either.
Why did
because
we
I
forward
thought-
to the commission?
I think the initial confusion was over the fact that we used a different firm than the engineering firm that we used for the order of conditions. So I think Dan was originally reaching out to Carlos from CEC.
Well, I reached out to Carlos and you,
Right.
asking for the results, regardless, because I have no affiliation with Green Seal. I personally, I can't believe they just gave it to me when I asked for it.
No, Victoria called me and said,
Yeah,
can I read
okay.
it? And absolutely.
But
I thought you
that
had
took-
already had that in
No,
your
well,
hands.
we had asked for this
But-
material from your representatives, your attorney and your engineer who designed the plans.
And we had thought the engineer had released it because we did authorize it, so it was just a miscommunication.
Seems to be a lot of that with this site.
As far as the.
Seems to be a lot of it with this site.
Yeah.
A lot of miscommunication.
The silt fence and all of that, I make trips by there to make sure that it's still standing, hay wattles are up in place and staked.
But they're not functioning appropriately. I've seen it. I've been out there. I've been out there too, quite a few times. They're not functioning
The
as they're supposed to function.
silt sacks in the catch basins, we've replaced them, And I haven't had any activity at that site since the last time we replaced it.
Right, but we're still dealing with bare dirt for the majority of the site that we can't restore now because of the contaminated material that's put in place.
I mean, I thought we did everything, stone the driveway, like was asked.
You did a number of the items which Member Boyle stated regarding the gate, but
But it took years to get it done.
Yeah.
Took
Yeah.
years to get it done. And I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just,
if we can, let's focus on the material and how you
yeah.
wanna act on behalf of that.
I'm of the opinion that we should seek a LSP opinion, just to provide some context, because there's three different groundwater categories, and on the face of it, it would seem like a GW3 area. So it would make it non-reportable to DEP. All these concentrations that have been reported in the lab would not need to be reported or not present a reportable condition. But then again, an LSP opinion to provide some context about that would be useful.
Yeah, they may say these are materials that are found in ordinary fill at this concentration all the time. Then we'll be in great shape. You would have think that would have been provided in the summary of the letter by Green Seal, but they limited it to, based on the analytical and field screening results of the May 22nd, 2023 sampling event, it does not appear a reportable release has occurred as a result of the historic filling practices conducted at the site. GSE does not recommend further evaluation of the site soils at this time. I think that's pretty limited in their exposure and analysis of the results that they found.
Right.
Nowhere does it say that it's suitable for filling, and that it can remain on site without an issue to public health and safety.
so we need someone to
Yeah.
guide us with this.
So-
So, yeah, I'm fine, we can.
So can we have a motion, have Dan contact an LSP for review and comments and guidance for us?
Motion.
Second.
Aye.
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 And do you want an LSP opinion from the consultant that did the testing? I mean, we can't force it, but you can request that they ask for that. When I spoke to the gentleman at DEP, that's something that they would normally, and a normal course of action, be provided with in a situation like this.
Can you do that?
No, that's fine, we'd be happy to provide.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
As soon as you get it, send it over.
I will.
Thanks.
Alrighty. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, we can bring back, can I have a motion to bring back up 1262?
Motion.
Second.
Aye. Aye.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, so we made up a list. I have it in writing. I don't know if you want us to say it out loud, give you a
Yeah,
copy of the
that
list.
way
let's
we
read
can
it,
get
and
it on file.
then just submit it as part of the record.
All right, item by item. First one is gonna be broken asphalt, broken concrete,
This
process.
is to be stored only, this isn't processing.
Correct, this is to
Okay.
be stored.
This is the stuff you're leaving there.
We're gonna
Yes,
be
in the
putting
bins.
in the bins and selling it, moving it, yes. Processed gravel,
Those are the three big bins.
these three are the three big bins, the,
The broken asphalt and broken concrete is gonna get processed to processed ground.
yes.
We're not talking processing.
No, those are what the three
So
bins
right
are
now, you
for.
can bring in broken concrete and you can sell broken concrete,
Correct.
Yes.
but you cannot process it outside.
Yep, and we can have a bin for processed gravel at this point.
Okay.
Another, now getting into the small bins, we'd like to have one with cold patch, one with wood chips, several with mulch of various types. We didn't want to bore you with, you know,
Landscaping mulch.
exactly, landscaping mulch. Sand of various sizes,
Yep.
concrete sand, Title V sand, et cetera. Stone of various sizes and types, meaning different materials.
Crushed stone material.
Crushed stone, exactly.
Mhm.
Then we wanted to specify armor stone because it's a little bit bigger.
Yeah,
Some
riprap.
people might consider it to be a boulder. The armor stone's the biggest of the rocks that we plan on
Yep.
keeping. We'd like to have loam on site in a bin. Sandy athletic field mix for the fields.
again?
Sandy athletic field mix, so like an athletic turf for softball, baseball fields.
Oh, yeah.
dense grade for roadways, sidewalks, and limbs and stumps in one bin too for processing on small sites. Well, I say processing, to bring in and be able to dispose of. So,
What was the one before limp?
I'm sorry.
Stump, what was the, before stumps?
Limbs and stumps, and just before that was dense grade.
Oh,
Is that paper base? No, different,
I'm sorry?
dense grade,
The,
Yeah.
the dense grade.
paver base?
Paver base,
Oh,
sidewalk
yes,
base.
yes, exactly, yes. So that's our complete list.
Are we satisfied with that?
I'm just concerned about stumps. But
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know what kind of a market there is for stumps.
Right, what's that entitled, the stumps and all of that? Is that storage? What do you do with the stumps once they get there?
So what we were talking about was a small bin to be able to bring some if they come from a job site and they need to put them into a bin for
Okay.
some reason, and then be able to take them out. We just didn't want to have any conflict with the commission as to why
So like
they
a
might go in
transfer
there.
station.
Well, you know, sometimes you have a small, a 10-wheeler, and you want to bring over a full tractor-trailer load to dispose in a proper area where they grind them or whatever. We want to not have to make and keep either a small truck full. We want to make efficient runs. So that was the thought
So
process
just
behind it.
temporary holding for it till it moves?
100%, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to be selling stumps.
There's a market for it.
I don't think there is.
So if a homeowner comes in and doing their mulch beds, has a shrub or two, that's where that would go.
Right.
I mean, wants to pick up some new mulch, dump their old mulch.
And that's one bin?
Yes.
Then maybe, okay. So how many bins do we have total?
There are 16 large, 16 small and 3 large.
All right, and we've,
Bins.
and we've enumerated how
Bins.
many different types of material, or specific to how many bins of each?
We haven't assigned each one. I think the market's gonna determine, and also the season. So
Okay.
when mulch starts going out, we'll probably see more stone,
Okay.
you know, or more sand.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, okay. Now, did we- So everyone's fine with the
Does
material?
anybody have any other questions about the material?
Yeah, this is really very different from the proposals I've heard before. The proposal I heard before dealt with the trucking business and storing trucks. I understood that a lot of the trucks picked up materials in Tiverton and other places and delivered them.
Mm-hmm.
Now it seems like, come on, that yes, it's a trucking business, and the trucks get filled up from the bins right next to the Quikasham River, and then they drive off and deliver more stuff, and presumably other trucks come in to fill the bins.
Correct.
Yeah, they fill the bins, sell the, it's a continuous
Yep.
operation.
And the purpose of, and this is located in a very highly sensitive environmental area. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, they've met all the requirements and setbacks that we had asked them to, so,
Well, I don't, did we vote on that?
yeah.
Well, see, I thought it was a trucking business. I didn't realize until I read this current material that this is what is going on.
The application that was submitted was for a contractor yard with storage bins from day one. That's the first thing that they were showing.
Well,
And trucking.
storage bins are different from,
Well, the material storage bins.
yeah, but it
Let
didn't.
me add the adjective.
That may be true, but it certainly did not say, we are selling, stay with mulch, because I understand mulch. It didn't say we're storing mulch here and then we're gonna dole it out to homes, for example.
It could be a landscaper.
Yeah.
They'll come pick some up, maybe they get an order to have it delivered.
Yeah,
That's the normal course of operation for a contractor's yard that has bins that sells
Well,
material.
it's the wrong place for it, but
Okay.
that's,
All right.
Well, as a counter argument, it's non-hazardous, it's earth materials, it's,
Yeah,
other
I
than,
mean,
yeah, it's all.
We're keeping all the bad stuff out, so I mean, everything there is pretty much there already.
What else is there besides, I'm not, I picked mulch because I understand mulch.
Sure, I can go
But
through the
what-
list.
What are the three big items?
The three big items?
Yeah, the top three there, the big bins.
The bigger bit?
Oh, the bigger bins. We're gonna have broken asphalt, broken concrete, and processed gravel in the three big bins. But the majority of the bins are gonna have things like wood chips,
Yeah.
mulch, and sand.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yep.
I'm not,
How would you classify asphalt millings? Have you included that?
That would be the broken asphalt.
Okay.
How would we categorize?
No,
Oh,
so would you have a bin that has asphalt millings?
Yes.
Or is that
Well,
gonna,
it's-
or is that gonna be the same as broken asphalt?
It's, yeah, they rip up a sidewalk, they,
That's fine.
yeah.
okay. What do you do with it?
They,
You
well,
bring it in?
yes, they bring it in and ship it out, yep.
See, this is what did not register, and I didn't see it anywhere in the writing. I read it carefully.
I don't know what to say.
It's deceptive.
No, I mean, they came in for what they applied for, storage bins, trucks, they've done everything.
And that's why now we want to enumerate and be very specific about what can go in those bins. So it's not just bins that they can store anything in. They can only store these items, which you can approve or disapprove.
Okay.
And to their credit, they did remove the salt that they wanted to store previously.
Because
It's highly,
Yep.
Jim, as you recall, or Evan, if you recall, we
it
talked about
certainly is
storing
not,
salt there, and we.
not very, it's not really clear. You didn't say you were trucking material in and out.
Clear as mud. Are you selling mud?
I would have known exactly what you're doing. It's like materials over in Tiverton.
Okay.
I would have known exactly. I picked stuff up there.
Well, now you don't have to go so far.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that asphalt, the chopped asphalt is going to do the Quequechan River any good. That's what I'm really saying.
They're 50 feet away from it, so
Well,
they met that requirement that we set. I mean,
We actually changed
Okay.
that requirement, made them set it back even further.
yeah.
Yep,
So-
so I'd like to, can we make a, John, can we get a motion on this? So,
Yeah. We
Again,
wanna-
back up, the only other thing is we haven't addressed the diesel on site.
Mhm.
Do we have a plan with that?
So the plan shows the location
Right.
of the bins themselves.
Right.
We were talking about it, just as a perspective. We understand that it's a sensitive thing. It's it's containment within containment. So it will meet all of the NFPA regulations and the outdoor storage regulations. We do understand that there's always concerns. You never go in and have somebody say, great, there's fuel storage, but there's also, we're very close to a large gas station that's
Just
pretty
think
close
of
to
when
us.
Cumberland Farms was constructed, 20 feet from a wetland. Granted, those are underground storage tanks, which sometimes are worse. This one is probably 150 to 200 feet away from the resource area.
We pushed it, like we talked
In
about,
between
as
the
far
buildings.
away and on the other side of a building.
How many
Um,
gallons?
Yeah.
About 3,000.
And it's double contained, so.
It is.
It's a
Yeah, no,
double
they're
wall
very
tank
specific
Yep.
with another.
regs on.
Yeah, and
Underground
that'll, a
container.
lot of that falls under the plumbing code, and,
Yeah.
meeting all those
Yeah.
requirements.
Okay.
As far as the large bins, you said that's gonna be for the asphalt, the concrete, and the processed gravel?
Yes.
And I noticed this 1, 2, 3, obviously the one to the left is closest to the resource area. Is there a specific, have you thought about what material is gonna go in each bin, or is?
No.
All that stormwater runs forward into the site, does not run backwards to
Mhm.
the resource area.
Right, I think you made that recommendation several meetings ago, right? That
Right.
You made
Yeah.
that recommendation, so.
Yeah, the whole site's great.
So putting the asphalt closer to the bin,
Really, anything that runs out goes to the same drainage collection system. So nothing will run,
that was my, okay.
nothing will be short-circuited and run
Yeah.
straight back if it's built correctly and if the materials are stored correctly.
Right.
You can overfill a bit of asphalt and go over the edges of the bin.
Right.
That you can't regulate right now. I mean, it's to be stored in the bin. If it's
I don't know
stored-
if that was just another preventive measurement of moving the asphalt to the other bin, but I
Concrete's
understand.
probably worse,
Yeah,
so I really think it makes a difference.
Okay. So can we, get a motion for order of conditions with the special conditions listed? No work starts till site plan review. They just submitted a list of materials to be stored at the site, which we'll have listed. Did we want to check on the drains to make sure the appropriate floor drains are there before the vehicle?
That'll be through site plan review and.
Okay,
and
so that's
building permit.
included in that. We're skipping processing.
No, you're gonna
We're
make it a
prohibiting-
condition
We're
that
prohibiting
processing is.
processing. You can file that later. Installation of the guardrail, determine who pays for that. Will be down the road. Let's see, following. Are we missing anything, Dan?
Detail
No,
of storage bins.
other than the, the detail of the storage bins, which we'll deal with site plan review.
Yeah.
Basically, they wanted to know what
Detail of
are
the
they
site,
concrete block, you know, I mean, what could they be?
Okay.
And then you're just gonna deal with the sequence, the construction sequence.
Yeah, so all stormwater management facilities, material storage areas, parking facility, the water sewage extension, building permit. No work started to the building permit on the ledge. That's, I think, covers everything.
The only thing you should add in is item B, all proposed stormwater management facilities that can be constructed due to the absence or presence of ledge. So you can't require that the swale along Brigham Avenue get constructed first because that requires the ledge removal. So any stormwater management facility that can be constructed that does not require ledge removal. So just be specific with that.
All right, so we'll add any stormwater management facilities that can't be constructed to the ledge. Can I have a motion for that?
Motion so made.
Second.
Roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
No.
All righty.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work.
Appreciate your time. Thanks.
All righty, let's see here.
I'll make a motion to take items 8 through 11 together, so we can vote on that all at once.
All righty, so,
I will second that.
okay.
Yeah.
So we have, receipt of correspondence review from National Grid, and 12 M13.
You have to vote on,
On the motion.
Seconded.
Oh, the second, that's right.
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Alrighty. So in that motion consists of receipt of correspondence review, discussion of National Grid N12, M13, double circuit tower separation, then discussion of National Grid, single environmental impact report amendment, receipt of correspondence from National Grid, double circuit tower separation, and review and discussion of single environmental impact report amendment number 2.
Motion to accept and place on file?
Second.
Roll call?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Can I have a motion for approval of minutes from July 10th
Motion so made?
and July
Seconded.
17th?
Seconded.
Roll call?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Seeing no citizen input, can I have a
Motion to
motion to
adjourn?
adjourn?
Seconded.
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Okay, motion adjourned.
thank you all very much. Good work.